In order for us to make a great first impression, we need to send the message of trust. We are hardwired to connect with other people, and the first indicator for a great first impression has to do with our ability to build trust. Now, how do we build trust? When a patient first walks into the practice, they're trying to realize if they can trust you, if they can feel comfortable and relaxed around you. And this is the same for when we are meeting other people. We are constantly trying to find ways who can we trust and who can we feel comfortable around with. Now, let me ask you a few questions to see if you can determine which are some of the first nonverbal signals that you can send to convey trust. Do you remember as a kid, how did you get your teacher's attention? Or when we are networking and we're trying to get someone's attention from across the room, what do we usually do? When a police officer pulls over a suspect, what is the first thing the police officer asks the suspect to do? Do you notice a common denominator here? In order for us to build trust, we need to make sure that we show our hands. Our hands is one of the very first indicators of trust. This goes back to our ancestors, in which when one tribe was trying to come into another's territory, it was important to be able to detect whether or not this person was holding a weapon in their hand. So from our ancestors' time, we have developed this need to first look for our hands in order for us to feel safe around people. The brain dedicates a specific region, the inferior temporal cortex, to scanning someone's hands and face. Properly using our hands is going to help us be able to send the right messages to people, also be able to detect and build trust with them, while at the same time is going to help us remove the burden of communicating and using our words more. There has been studies that show that whenever we are using hand gestures and we're using our hands as a support mechanism for the words that were used, the person on the receiving end is less concerned about the context, and we, as we are communicating, it frees up our brain so that we can be able to elaborate better and build better communications with the people that we're connecting with. Now, this is one of the most simple ways for us to non-verbally communicate and build trust with others. And if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this section, is to always keep your hands visible. If you're at the front desk and a patient is coming over to your space, make sure your hands are not ducked into underneath the desk. Make sure the hands are on the table and visible to them. As a dentist, when you're actually explaining treatment, your hands cannot be in your pocket. There has been studies that show that in a courtroom, defendants that keep their hands visible get a more favorable outcome, and in contrast, those who keep their hands hidden under their pockets or not visible. And when the jurors are unable to see the defendant's hands, the guilty verdicts usually rank higher for those defendants. So 3 things to keep in mind regarding your hands and the importance of nonverbal communication as it relates to keeping your hands visible. It is, number 1, it sends the trust signal that we need in order for us to build trust. It also builds instant rapport with the patients, with your coworkers, and with everyone you have interactions with. And at last, it relaxes us and it will keep us focused on less of the words that we use, but rather on the story and the content, and you're going to convey more confidence. Our hands are an incredibly important tool for us to use whenever we're trying to make a great first impression, whenever we're trying to build trust, and when we're communicating non-verbally. And I want you to be mindful and learn how to use your hands to be able to make a great first impression.